Hello and welcome to the Business Spotlight interview series. I am your host, Barrett McDonald, and today I am joined with Phil Otto, who is the partner and advisor at Believe Co. Phil, thank you so much for joining us today. Would you like to kick things off with a little bit of a rundown of what it is that you do?
Sure. I spend all of my time helping companies understand their brand and how to market. I've been 37 years in business. Um, the first 36 is a company called Revolve that was 40-person national advertising agency based in Halifax with clients across Canada, staff in Calgary, Montreal, and Toronto. And then a year ago, was part of 6 firms coming together, a roll up with a private equity investor led by Arlene Dickenson to form a national firm with offices in the US as well. And we are all about helping companies succeed.
Amazing. Companies big and small?
Companies big and small. Yep. We personally, I'm very passionate about small entrepreneurial businesses. I always ran my business very nimble, very reactive to the market and reactive to what clients need. But we have clients right up as large as FYI doctors and a lot of federal government agencies too. So they're the whole run rate of business size for sure.
Absolutely. So what would you say have been some of your biggest learning as an employer since you began your journey in business 37 years ago?
As an employer,
Yeah.
never hire somebody that you wouldn't want to have a beer with on a Friday afternoon.
Okay.
Hire slow, fire fast.
Okay.
And when you find that you've got the right people in the right seats in the bus, you just give them lots of hugs and love and respect and admiration and see what wonderful things you can do together.
Absolutely. It sounds like a good way of approaching it. So, on that note, what qualities do you look for in your employees and how do you foster a positive and productive work environment?
We never really focused on hiring people from within the industry.
Okay.
I hired a lot of younger people in my career, people who you can mold and help learn the industry. We were never a traditional advertising agency. We took a much different path. We always focus more on our clients' bottom line than winning awards. So finding colleagues that could learn and grow. And I was also never intimidated by hiring people smarter than myself. I like bright people around me. And diversity has been important. Years ago we called it male and female. Now it's ethnic. Every part of diversity you can find helps inform the right kind of advice for clients because we're a melting pot of a country.
Absolutely. Yeah. The as I've gone through this series, a lot of employers like yourself are toting the same line where experience is key, but not necessarily the end all be all. We want people with diversity and who bring a lot of energy and drive to our businesses. So it seems like you're coming along things in that same way. So what would you say are some of the misconceptions about running a business and what do you do to kind of combat those?
Oh, I think people that don't run a business think that it's a lot easier than it is. They have no idea what risk, particularly in younger years of running a business, the amount of all-nighters that I pulled, late nights, early mornings. I still work hard. I'm not suggesting that you don't continue to work hard to maintain what you build. But it takes a lot of fortitude, a lot of resilience, a lot of soul searching to make sure that what you're doing is right for you and your family. I have the benefit of absolutely loving what I do. Love what I do. Almost 40 years now helping business succeed and grow and prosper by, again, understanding who they are, going deep into brand and brand DNA and the fundamentals of vision, mission, values. And nothing makes my day more than an engagement that I was involved in this morning. working with a seventh generation business to make sure that they remain relevant to their consumer. This
Right.
is a business that has refound itself, reinvented itself multiple times over the years, and just making sure that they've got the mindset to continue that.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's good that you're able to pull on those levers and keep things moving forward. So what would you attribute to your growth?
Being relevant to client needs, um, being having good stickiness with staff. Good stickiness with staff. We have very low turnover. We've always
Right.
enjoyed very low turnover, particularly for our industry. I have people who have been with me for over 20 years, and low or high stickiness with staff leads to high stickiness with clients. You're not turning
Right.
clients over all the time. But just being really, really good listeners and understanding when a client what a client thinks they need and what they really need aren't necessarily the same thing,
Absolutely.
and being being smart enough to be able to tell the difference
Okay.
and
Yeah.
convince the client of that as well.
Yeah, those are some massive skills that get learned over time for sure. So we talked a lot about the amount of effort and everything that it takes. So how do you balance your personal life with the demands of running a business?
I have 4 kids, and I am family first, and I encourage our
Yeah.
staff to do the same thing. You think of a three-legged stool. You have your personal, your family, and your professional. And if
Right.
those aren't fairly well balanced, the stool's going to tip over. So keeping that perspective of, care for oneself, attention to one's family, and attention to the business in the right proportions is important to the health of the business and your own mental health as well.
Absolutely.
Well,
Sounds like
simplified. I could give you a lot more complicated answer, but it really comes down to just figuring out where your priorities are and not let one
yeah,
over.
I think the analogy of the stool registers well for everyone. So I think that's a good way of putting it into context. So thinking back at almost 40 years now, if you had to start all over again from square one, what would you do differently?
Oh my God, if I knew then what I know now, I never would have had the stomach to do what I did. Um, what would I do different? Something, Barrett? Not a lot. I don't have a ton of regrets um, of what I've done. I've made mistakes along the way, but I've learned from them as well.
Absolutely.
I yeah, just something. I try to be a good listener with my colleagues, a good listener with clients, and that's how you figure out what motivates other people. What would I do different? Um, Not a lot, really.
That's good. It's good to be able to say that in retrospect, right?
Oh,
To go
yeah,
back.
yep,
There's a lot of the hard times are where we come up with our best learnings. So to not want to avoid those isn't a bad
yep,
thing. It's really a good trait
yep,
in our belief. So
yep,
we at Action Coach believe that you can never outwork your education. So if you stop learning, you can only go so far.
yep.
So
I
I
am
think
a
that's a
lifelong learner. Yep, and
absolutely.
yeah, knowing that you never know it all, and always being open to other perspectives, um, is very, very important, particularly in my business, which is
Absolutely.
it's a creative industry.
Yeah, for sure. So as we're kind of wrapping up here, Phil, do you have any last pieces of advice for someone who might be watching this, thinking about jumping into the entrepreneurial world and world of self-employment as it is right now?
Well, it's not for everybody. Get ready for one hell of a ride. It's a combination of luck and brains and perseverance. And you asked when about hiring decisions. The other rule that I've kind of always had was hire for attitude and train for aptitude.
Yeah.
Um, and don't be afraid to surround yourself with people smarter than you are.
It's the element of never stop learning. When we're not the smartest person in the room, we have no choice but to get smarter. So
Yep. Yep.
that's a good way. Well, that's awesome, Phil. Thank you so much for your time today. It was great meeting you and learning more about your entrepreneurial journey. And to everyone, I look forward to seeing you in our next series. Thank you.
But thank you, Barrett.